It's been 8 years since ASAP Rocky last dropped an album. 8 years. After multiple delays, false starts, and radio silence, ASAP Rocky finally dropped his long awaited fourth studio album, Don't Be Dumb. Originally supposed to be releasing in August of 2024, the album was delayed to fall of 2024 and then delayed indefinitely until we finally got it released on January of 2026. With the release of this album, there's only one real question left to answer. Was it worth the wait? Well, we'll get into that. But first, we should deep dive into how we even got to this point. And you should subscribe to this channel so you can get more great content like this. And with that, let's get started. A lot has changed in ASAP Rocky's life since he dropped Testing back in 2018. And a lot has changed in hip hop too. Trap music completely took over the genre, to the point of oversaturation. SoundCloud rap burned hot and burned out. Traditional album rollouts started to feel irrelevant. In that same span, we got Daytona and It's Almost Dry from Pusha T, followed by the collapse of good music. Kanye, Kanye went off the rails again and disappeared overseas somewhere. Travis Scott dropped Utopia, rebranded himself as a full blown spectacle, and somehow spent time acting like a professional wrestler for a little bit. Then we witnessed what might be the biggest rap beef ever between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, with Kendrick coming out on top and following it up with GNX, a massive commercial and cultural win. And something I generally never expected to see, Clips reunited and dropped Let God Sort 'Em Out to critical acclaim, which honestly should win Rap Album of the Year, but that's a separate video. On top of all that, hip hop's grip on the mainstream started to loosen, sales dipped, chart dominance faded, and the genre stopped controlling culture the way it did in 2018. The landscape today looks completely different from when Testing dropped. At the same time, ASAP Rocky's personal life completely transformed. Since 2018, he's had children with Rihanna, nearly went to prison over allegations involving his former friend ASAP Relly, only to be acquitted.
We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of...
Oh my god. And he evolved into a full-blown global fashion icon, landing major deals, most notably with Puma. Music stopped being the center of his public identity, which brings us to the rollout for Don't Be Dumb. And it was just as chaotic as you'd expect. Rocky dropped multiple singles leading up to the original 2024 release date: Riot, Hijack, Ruby Rosary, and Taylor Swift. Then the album got delayed, and delayed again, and eventually disappeared. What's wild is that none of these songs made the final album, even though tracks like Hijack, Riot, and Taylor Swift are all strong. Hijack especially felt like classic Rocky. At one point, Rocky even said Tim Burton turned down doing the album cover, only for Tim Burton to end up designing it a year later. With the delays, the court case, and constant snippets, fans started calling Rocky Snippet Man. People said he gave up on music, that he was done, that he'd rather focus on fashion, or just be a stay at home dad since his partner is a billionaire. But despite all of that noise, ASAP Rocky finally dropped Don't Be Dumb. And to answer the question from the beginning, yes, it was worth the wait. To me, Don't Be Dumb feels like the perfect blend of ASAP Rocky's first three albums, taking the strongest elements from each album and refining them into one project. Tracks like Helicopter really remind you of that long last ASAP era where you have those menacing heavy synths. Then you have tracks like Punk Rocky and Air Force that sound very experimental, like the Testing era. Then you have tracks that are completely out of the left field, such as STFU and Robbery. One of them being easily the worst track on the album, and the other being a surprisingly smash hit, in my opinion. The album is full of risks, and for the most part, those risks actually work out. ASAP Rocky sounds angry throughout much of this album. On the intro, he addresses his falling out with ASAP Relly. On Stole Your Flow, he takes direct shots at Drake. This album is littered with subliminals, mostly aimed at Drake and possibly at Travis Scott on No Trespassing. Some people say that track is also about Drake, but I'm not fully convinced. It feels like more of a Travis shot to me. That frustration and resentment ultimately explodes on STFU, where ASAP Rocky pretty much tells everyone to shut up about the album delays and questions surrounding Rihanna. The skits on Dopey Dumb feel like Rocky drawing a line in the sand. He's basically saying, I'm going to make whatever music I want, and I'm not going to take the advice from people who aren't on my level. And to be fair, he's absolutely right about that. He shouldn't be taking advice from people who have never created anything in their lives and just complain on Twitter. But Rocky, you should take my advice and delete STFU. Sorry, Rocky. I love the album, but that track is really tough to listen to. For me, the most memorable track on the album is Stay Here for Life. Throughout the album, Rocky sounds defensive and angry, but on this specific track, he sounds unapologetically happy. He expresses his love for Rihanna, his kids, and for the life he's built. And at the end of the song, he turns around and criticizes his fans for wanting him to live that single, reckless bachelor lifestyle. And honestly, I agree with him. The man found his person and wants to raise a family with her. What's wrong with that? And shout out to Brent Faiyaz. He absolutely killed his feature on this track. This track just sounds amazing, especially on headphones. I'd highly recommend it. The album closes on a surprisingly bleak note, with Rocky suggesting the world ends not in a bang, but a whimper, with everyone glued to their phones, disconnecting from real life. There are also two digital bonus tracks with SWAT Team and Fish and Steak featuring Tyler, the creator. Both are great extra content without overstaying their welcome on the album. Overall, I love Don't Be Dumb. With his back against the wall and everyone saying he was finished, ASAP Rocky swings back and reminds everyone why he still matters. After an 8-year gap from his last album and over 15 years in the rap game, ASAP Rocky proved he still has influence in the culture. And yeah, it was worth the wait. And with that, I'm going to let y'all go. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe. Peace.